As a small business owner, have you ever felt overwhelmed by the pressure of choosing the right hire or leading a team? Or have you ever found yourself tolerating a bad hire because you fear trying and failing again as you repeat the hiring process? If so, you're not alone, and you are in the right place. Welcome to the Growing Your Team podcast. The Growing Your Team podcast teaches business owners like you to expand your unique business by teaching you to master the hiring and team management process. Hiring and managing a team does not have to be a challenge. You just have to learn to do it right. And the Growing Your Team podcast teaches you how to become a confident leader who hires right every single time. Now, let's jump into the show where each episode you will learn tips on how to identify what type of help you need on your team, how to source amazing candidates, how to conduct interviews that lead you to your ideal team member, how to onboard successfully, and how to lead every person in your business so you have a team of rock stars who you are happy to pay every single paycheck. So let's jump in and teach you how to hire like a pro.
Hello, this is Jamie Van Kuyk, and welcome back to the Growing Your Team podcast. I am so excited today to be back on the podcast for a number of reasons. First off, we took a little bit of a break. So I think our last episode that went out was maybe beginning of November, so we've been quiet for a few months. And as I mentioned on that last episode, the break was planned, but it also came at the most perfect time. The break was needed because, sometimes you just get into routines and you can love something, but kind of that love fades away a little bit for something because it starts to feel like a chore from the routine. And I love the podcast, but I needed to take a little break, take a step back, and refresh so I could come back with the energy that I want to put into it versus just getting it done because there's another thing on the to-do list. So the break was planned. Then, of course, I live in St. Petersburg, Florida, so the Tampa Bay area, and we got hit by 2 back-to-back hurricanes. Being able to look at everything that needed to get done within my business and make a decision to pause on something because time and effort needed to be focused elsewhere was needed on a personal mental health level, but also just on a business level to say, okay, we need to show up in different ways for our clients and for the business over the next few months versus forcing ourselves to spend time here. But we're back. We always planned on coming back at the beginning of the year. We're coming back. It's early February, and I am so excited. I have mapped out a bunch of the topics we'll be talking about on the podcast this year. And our focus this year is just really education, teaching you how to hire, teaching you what it means to let go of things in your business and get the support you need so that way you can be successful. And this is going to really tie into today's topic. But one of the things I really want us to remember when it comes to hiring and it comes to successful hiring is the fact that hiring looks different at different stages of our business. Just because we have a team, whether it's one other person or 12 other people, doesn't mean we've mastered the art of hiring. It doesn't mean we've mastered the art of delegating and letting go. So sometimes we just need that refresher of there's still more for me to do. There's still that opportunity for me to step into that next role of being a leader and a people manager in my business. And as my business grows and changes, hiring grows and changes, my team grows and changes, and all those things. So we're really going to focus this year a lot on elevating you as that people leader and business leader in your business and elevating your team, whether that means hiring your very first employee or being on the path to hire your 20th employee, your 100th employee, making sure that you're empowered every step of the way. The other thing that is really excited about coming back is we just hit 5 years with the podcast. So we launched January of 2020. So we just hit 5 years. It's super exciting. I would have never thought when I started this podcast 5 years ago that I'd still be doing it. I love all the people that I've met through it and everything. And the fact that if we're here 5 years, whether this is your very first episode you're listening to, or you listened to all, I think, 250 plus episodes that are out there, thank you. Thank you for trusting me when it comes to the knowledge you need for your business. Thank you for making me feel like this podcast and putting this knowledge and putting this information and taking the time to do all this is worth it. I love it, and I'm so glad that you love it too. So one other exciting thing happened during this little downtime that I had when I wasn't on the podcast was I launched a book. I wrote a book, wrote it last summer, and then it launched in November, came out in copies. You can actually get your physical hands on it and everything in December, but it is called Rise and Find: An Ambitious Woman's Guide to Building Her Dream Life. I was a co-author of the book, so it was myself and 12 other women wrote different sections of this book to help successful, ambitious women learn how to have the balanced life that they're really looking for. So stepping away from work is everything and focusing more on what type of life do I want and how do I get there from where I currently am. So shouldn't be any surprise, my section is all about delegation. If you want to get your hands on this book, go to growingyourteam.com/riseandfindbook, no spaces, so rise and find book, and you can get your hands on a copy of this amazing book and learn about myself and the 12 other wonderful women who contributed. But let me talk a little bit more about my section and why I wrote it and why I wanted to be a part of this project. So I believe that in women, we are made to think that we need to do it all. We are trained to take more onto our plate and figure out how to get it done. We go and start careers and we grow that ladder, or we head up that ladder, we go up that ladder inside our careers, whether that's within a corporate company, a small business that when we're working for someone else, or even in our own business where we're creating our own ladder. We move up to that next level. And the reality is, a lot of times we take that rung beneath us and we never fully let go. We hold on to a lot of responsibilities that maybe we shouldn't anymore. But then we mature in life as well. And maybe we went from having a small little apartment that we're sharing with a friend to a place of our own, where now all the housework is on us. And then we grow and maybe we meet a significant other and we eventually have children. And when it comes to having children, typically more of the responsibility of raising children falls on the woman than it does on the man in a relationship. And we take on all this, plus our career if we continue working, plus all the housework, plus everything, plus having fun or trying to find time to have fun and taking care of our health and all this, and we never let go. We are trained to do it all. We're trained to just find time, manage our time better, when the reality is sometimes we just have too much on our plate. So my focus in my chapter, which is actually the very first chapter of the book, is to delegate, that we need to learn to let go, that we need to learn that having it all is not a myth. We are allowed to have it all. But the thing is, we don't have to do it all to have it all. You can enjoy your success without being the person that has to do everything that comes with that level of success. When we grow and we're able to delegate, we're able to help other people grow. We're able to give jobs to other people, people that need jobs to keep a roof over their head and food on their table and everything. So we need to delegate and we need to let go. But the reality is, delegating is hard. It is super hard. It is something that we resist a lot. And so I want to talk today a little bit more about delegating and why it's hard. And this is something I talk about in more detail in my chapter of the book. So go get your hands on the book. Once again, it's at growingyourteam.com/riseandfindbook. And you can read more about delegating. And in the book, I also talk about how to learn what to delegate and everything. And I talk about it from both a business perspective and a home life perspective, because let's be honest, we need to be delegating in both places. We shouldn't be holding on to everything that we're most likely holding on to today. So let me dive a little bit more into why delegating is hard, because this is super important. It's something that we need to talk about so we recognize what is really going on. Because if I decide go and delegate, part of you will be like, wait, what? I don't know how to do that. Sometimes we don't even know that we're afraid to do it because that fear is just so ingrained into us. It stops us even if we're not aware of it. But it is hard. And I want to give you an example of not having to do with delegating, but another thing where I was recently talking to someone about really understanding and talking from this place of what holds people back so we can understand what it's like to move forward or what is needed to move forward. When it comes to nonprofits have to bring in money, and they're typically bringing in money from donations. And if you're on a nonprofit board, a lot of times they're telling the board members, go out and get donations. And there's people that are on nonprofit boards that going out and asking for donations is so comfortable for them. They know how to have those conversations. They know how to ask for money. And typically they are in jobs where that is natural. They're in the sales positions. They're in these other positions where networking and asking people for stuff is common. But then you have other people that are on boards that join boards for other reasons, because nonprofits need more than money. They need people to dedicate their time. They need people to dedicate their knowledge, because it takes more than money to run a nonprofit and make a nonprofit successful. But sometimes when these people join the boards, they're told just to go out and ask for money. You can do it. It's easy. And one of the things that I noticed with sitting on a few different boards is when the conversation comes around about how to do it, it approaches the conversation from the perspective of the person that asking for money is easy. So it's just go and ask, go and have these conversations, where it forgets that there's a whole group of people where simply having these conversations or opening the door to these conversations with the people they know is a challenge. So instead of focusing on having the conversations, training needs to shift up to preparing people how to identify when these conversations should happen, how to ease the gap of starting those conversations, not what to do when you're in those conversations, and recognizing and having people see that it is okay to be scared and nervous here when this is not your norm. And so it's the same with delegating. It is okay to be scared and nervous when you're not a delegating pro, when it's not something that you're just like, boom, oh, I'll hire someone to do that. I'll hire someone to do that. There are some people that are amazing at delegating and they delegate everything in their life. There are other people that are just intimidated to even think about handing something off to people. And so I really just wanted to start at the beginning of, why are we intimidated to hand off things to people? Why does it stop us? Why does it scare us? Because if you're not a person where delegating is second nature, to you, delegating is hard. And some things you delegate will be way harder than others. Some things you might not realize that you think delegating is hard because you're able to hand off those things. But there are things where delegating seems almost as possible. So I want to talk real briefly about 3 reasons why delegating is hard. The first is delegating impacts relationships. There was a study once done by Columbia Business School that found that women resist delegating because they assume it can hurt relationships. It's believed that you have to be aggressive to delegate successfully. So delegating isn't asking for a favor. It's different than saying, hey, you said you were running to the store. If I give you $10, can you pick up XYZ for me? Right? You're asking someone for a favor with that. It's completely different when all of a sudden you're paying someone for that work, and it becomes this thing where people have to be held accountable. So when you delegate, you are holding people accountable for the work that they do, because when you ask for a favor, that person can say no. Or if they don't get to it, okay, it would have been nice if they did, but at the end of the day, it was a favor. Delegating is really more of that expectation that they will definitely do it. Because if they don't do it, it's really going to impact you or your business or your clients. So because it's not a favor, because we are asking someone and we are holding them accountable, we are holding them responsible, there's the fear that it changes the dynamic of a relationship or it builds a new relationship. And we dread as women that can make us seem assertive. And that feeling of people are going to think I'm assertive because I'm telling them what to do instead of asking them what to do, and I'm going to hold them accountable, can hold us back. It really, for a lot of people, eliminates the joy of getting help. But I always say that's no reason to limit yourself. If you need to delegate it, you need to do it to the best of your ability. You need to know that it's okay when you delegate, especially within your business, to hold people accountable. And when people get jobs, they know they're going to be asked to do things. They know that they're going to have a boss. They know that they're going to be held accountable. So yes, we do have to hold people accountable, but it's not like we're holding people accountable when they don't expect it. They expect it when we hire them for certain jobs. All right, so let's move on to the second reason why we fear delegating. We fear delegating because we see it as an increased opportunity for mistakes. We fear that the person that we're going to delegate to is going to do something wrong. We fear that they are not going to do it like us. And here is the cold, hard truth to that. No one can do it just like you because everyone approaches everything differently. It doesn't mean that someone else's approach is wrong. It just means it's different. The second truth is there will be mistakes. No one is perfect. Throughout your career, you've most likely made errors too. You forgot to attach files to an email before sending it off. And you've also made significant errors that probably cost you or your company money or impacted client relationships. So if you think about it, we're not perfect. You can probably think of something that you've already done today where you made a mistake. And they might not be huge mistakes. They might be little things. They might be, oh my goodness, I totally was going to put on different earrings before I ran out the door because I have these ones that I love that go with this outfit that I never get to wear. Or why did I wear these shoes? I'm going to be walking around and these ones are going to be uncomfortable. Or it could be significant ones where realizing, oh my gosh, I told a client I would get that off to them tomorrow and I completely forgot. Let me sit down and rush and get that done so I can hopefully mend and save that client relationship. We all make mistakes and it just happens. So there will be mistakes. Nobody is perfect. And so we just have to remember that is just because you make mistakes doesn't mean you're not capable. So don't let the fear of someone making a mistake hold you back, because if mistakes really were the end of the world would have ended. So have grace and understand that everyone's human. We all make mistakes, including you. All right, so then the last one that we're going to talk today about is the fear of failure. Okay, so this is a very important thing when it comes to why delegating feels so hard. We believe that when we delegate, it increases the opportunity for us to be seen as a failure. And there's multiple layers to this that I want to discuss. So there's a lot of societal pressure. We are often told what it means to be a good mother, a good wife, a good business owner, a good corporate leader. If you don't match those expectations set by others, you might believe that they see you as a failure in one or more areas of your life. For myself personally right now, I am going through a huge personal life transition. And one of the things I was recently talking to someone about was there's a lot of emotions I'm going through. And one of the top ones is outside perception. And I even sat there and said, I know I shouldn't care what people think about me and think about this. I was like, but just because I know it and I know I shouldn't care doesn't mean I don't care. Because society tells us what we should be and what we should do. And if we don't measure up, we are a failure, or we're made to feel like we are a failure. The other thing where it creates that fear of failure is a lot of times we actually fear that the person we're going to delegate to will be better than us. Well, of course we want the person who's taking over those responsibilities to succeed. We really deep down don't want them to do so well that it makes our accomplishments look like subpar work. We don't want someone coming into our business, taking over something and doing such a good job where even our clients notice the difference and they're talking about it and they're like, wow, what happened? Like, this is completely different and we love this. Because what does that say to us? Well, I wasn't good at doing that. What happens if this person leaves my business? What happens if all of a sudden they're not there doing this work and I have to put out something of lesser quality because I'm not that good? You know, this also, I know most people listening are small business owners. This doesn't apply to you anymore, or maybe it doesn't, it never did. But it's also one of those things like in the corporate world, it can hold women back from really wanting to elevate in the corporate world, whether they realize it or not. It's because what happens if the person who comes in and took over their previous role does better than them? And then they start getting all these awards and recognition and all this stuff where they're just like, wow, see, I wasn't good in that position. I shouldn't have been there. Do I even deserve to be where I am now? So we let these fears and we let this potential judgment stop us. But delegating is so important. If you don't delegate, you hold your business back. If you don't delegate, you hold yourself back. If you don't delegate, you become overworked, and that's just not good for yourself and your mental health. So while you might fear delegating, not delegating is not the answer. There's a cost to keeping all that work on your plate. So we're going to wrap up for today and leave it here of just remember that everybody fears delegating at some level. Some people, they snap right out of those fears and they move on and do it. So it doesn't really hold them back, but these things still pop into their mind every once in a while. But then there's other of us that these fears can stop us, can literally stop us from getting the support that we need. And so the purpose of this episode was just for you to recognize that these fears exist, that if you're feeling them, you are not alone, right? So delegating is hard, but it's something you have to do if you want to be successful. It's something that you have to do if you are going to grow your business, if you are going to be happy in life and not overworked, because running a business is a lot of work. Add to it the responsibilities of simply surviving life, and you have a lot on your plate. So don't be afraid to delegate to people who want to help. When you go to hire, people are applying for your position because they want that position. They want to take on those responsibilities. They want to get paid for doing work. just like you want to get paid for doing work for your clients, right? So the fear in delegating is going to exist. But let's try our best to not let it stop us so we can be happy and successful. All right, so that wraps up the episode for today. I am so happy to be back, and we'll be back next week with another episode of the Growing Your Team podcast.
And that wraps up this episode of the Growing Your Team podcast. But before we end, are you feeling overworked and know that you need to delegate more? Delegating work and getting support when you have too much on your plate is one of the most important things you can do. Not only does it help prevent burnout, but it also helps you achieve more success by allowing you to focus your time and talents in the right places. But sometimes we are so focused on doing everything that is currently on our to-do list that we're not able to easily see what we should pass off to another team member. If you're struggling trying to figure out what to delegate, I invite you to download the free Determine What to Delegate worksheet. This worksheet helps you determine what you should delegate. This is a crucial step in the hiring process because you can't hire the right person or get the proper support if you don't delegate the right items. And delegating the wrong items could actually cost you more than you gain. Download your copy of the Determine What to Delegate worksheet at growingyourteam.com/delegate. Once again, that's growingyourteam.com/delegate. And then join us back here for another episode of the Growing Your Team podcast.